Hi, Aquarius. Welcome to your February 2018 reading. Happy birthday. It's our season. And so, yes, let's briefly address last month's video where I was very upset and was very much in the energy of my moon sign, which is in Cancer, which has a tendency to really personalize things, which can be really great and also can be really can sometimes allow me to lose sight, right, of the bigger picture, which is where my Aquarius energy wants to be, right, wants to see the bigger picture and not get so sucked into like the mini micro dramas, right, that we all individually experience in our lives. And so I did realize that, I didn't do a very good job at sort of mixing and synergizing my own energy as an Aquarius sun, and the energy of the Aquarius that I was dealing with, right, or the Aquarians that I deal with, my own sort of calling in of the general, like what's happening with the Aquarians that need to see this video, that need to receive messages that aren't necessarily about my own personal life or my own personal experiences, right? And though my experiences can be helpful, when I'm bringing them to the forefront in more of a subjective or like really hyper emotionalized way, that sometimes the message can get lost, right? And somebody in the comments, I got really good feedback from you guys. Thank you for, holding me accountable, right? For those of you who are like, this reading is not like, is this kind of about you, or is this about or is this about all Aquarians in general? Like, where's our reading? So, and I appreciate that. And I'm, definitely making sure that in the future, not just for you guys, because I am an Aquarius, but for all the signs, that I am very much more grounded and not so much in, in sort of being sucked into, right? That I can see the bigger picture and not get kind of sucked into the micro dramas, right? That we all individually experience, right? And so I do apologize for that to all of you. And that, in general, whether we share a sun sign or not, like, you deserve the best. You deserve the best reading that I can give you. And, in one of the comments, one person mentioned that Aquarians tend to trigger, like when somebody gets upset with an Aquarius, it then tends to trigger this overall general anger with other Aquarians. And I think that has a lot to do with our archetype being the humanitarian and being the archetype that represents the people, the masses, right? That it's not so much about one individual, but it's about a mass, like the energy of the masses, right? The coming together and recognizing the connectivity of all beings, of all things as one, right? And so sometimes in that, people can kind of then see the connectivity in our own energies as Aquarians and then sort of feel as though like we're all in this, thrown into this sort of generalized kind of blanket. And I can understand that, right? That what we do sort of affects the image that, is presented regarding like our archetype in general. That's kind of what I felt, right? That comment meant. And it was very eye-opening, like, oh yeah, like, there is this generalized sort of, maybe, a generalized sense of upset is then triggered, right? And so one of the things that I realized, of course, after I posted the reading and after I like kind of chilled out and calmed down, was that like, a lot of us, I think a lot of us are facing mirrors in our relationships, right? In our love life sector, we are facing mirrors. And so, and I had to get honest that the same things that I was very upset about with this person are actually qualities that I've time and time again exhibited with other people. And so like, yeah, what goes around comes around, right? Like we end up experiencing whatever behaviors we sort of exhibit, we are then forced to kind of confront those behaviors. And I feel like a lot of us are facing mirrors right now in our relationships. And so that was one thing that I was like, oh, we're facing mirrors. And there are some heavy duty patterns that a lot of us are really trying to work through and break through. And there's such an emphasis on like, I need to stop doing this, that because there's such a heavy duty emphasis on that, that it's becoming even more difficult for us to naturally allow the energies to flow in, the healing energy that needs to flow in for us to actually let this pattern collapse, right? Whatever that pattern may be for you. I know what mine is, right? And so I think a lot of us are facing this, you know, these patterns that we exhibit no longer serve us, and there is a lot of energy around like holding on, but also needing to let go, but holding on and letting go and like going back and forth, right? So I realized that, and I came to have a lot of compassion, right, for the Aquarian that I mentioned I had been dealing with. I came to have a lot of compassion, and I came to have a lot of understanding, but that didn't also mean that I didn't have compassion for my need to set boundaries and for my need to say, no, I deserve way better than this, right? So I just wanted to put that out there that, you know, I definitely will be more mindful, especially as an Aquarius, right? When I do an Aquarius reading, to be a little bit more grounded in terms of like not really so much picking up on what's my personal story, right? And that's also like, I'm a Cancer moon, and things can become really personalized for me, which can be great, but then I can also lose sight of the bigger picture, like I said. So it's about balancing, right? So yeah, let's do your February reading. Happy birthday. I hope that, you know, for those of you that were really upset about last month's reading, you know, I apologize. And but I also did feel that was a reading that came out. That was a reading that came out. And so, you know, I understand it. And at the same time, it was like a kind of a learning lesson for me. And for some of you, it did resonate. So let's carry on. So here we go. First card out, Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, so I definitely feel that a lot of Aquarians are sort of re-evaluating their worth, right? There is a lot of solitude, I want to say, that is sort of presently happening. And this Queen of Pentacles, she's looking at this pentacle and she's observing this pentacle in the sense of like, I have created this. This is precious to me. And I need to do everything that I can in my power to to protect this, right? That she's definitely in this state of like, I am protective, and I am protecting what I have within me. And so I feel like we also have the King of Brooms. This deck is called the Ghetto Tarot. It's a photographic reinterpretation of the Rider-Waite, and it's all Haitian actors, Haitian artists that helped create this deck. And so in this deck, the wands are called brooms. So we have the King of Brooms here, right? And so that I feel as though a lot of us, I feel like these two cards are representing sort of the inner dynamics that a lot of us are feeling internally, right? Like what's happening with with us internally. That there is this sort of reevaluation of worth. And this reevaluation of what you've created and all that you've just sort of walked through and had to sort of shed and let go of. And then at the same time, there is also this reemergence of this fighting spirit. The King of Wands is very dominating, very upfront, very loud, extremely charismatic, but nonetheless somebody that you don't want to cross, right? Like Leos, Aries can be really charismatic people. Sagittarians can be really fire signs can be really charismatic, but at the same time, these aren't personalities that you want. You don't want to take advantage of that charisma, or you don't want to, you know, be like, oh, that person's so charming and warm, I'm sure I can, you know, fit. You don't want to test this person, because just as warm as they can be, they can spit that fire back at you and it's going to burn real bad. So I do feel that the internal dynamics that we're kind of feeling is that there's this fighter spirit, and I definitely have been feeling it. I have definitely been feeling this energy of like, I'm going to tell you like it is, and you're going to sit down, and I'm going to be savage as fuck right now, and I'm not going to hold back. So I've been feeling that energy really of just being like, saying exactly what's on my mind, at exactly that moment and being really quick with the clapbacks and just, yeah, there was even a moment at work where I was like, I gotta be careful before I get in trouble. But this definite sort of not a very passive, this is an aggressive, right? There's passive aggressive and there's aggressive. And I feel like a lot of us are in this aggressive energy that you will not, like, this is a 6 of Wands, 6 of Brooms. You will not railroad me. I know what my worth is. I'm not going to be railroaded. I'm not going to be stomped out. And for those of you who haven't really felt this yet, this is coming, right? This is coming, but it only comes at the realization of your worth, right? And at the realization of setting of your boundaries, and at the realization, like, she's also kind of looking at this pentacle, right? And this pentacle can be a relationship or sort of your ideal relationship. This pentacle can be your ideal career, your ideal job, your ideal financial situation. And you're really observing it and you're really understanding, like, this can manifest. This can come to fruition, but it's only going to come to fruition the second that I really learn how to set and respect my own boundaries. And Sagittarius had a very similar reading from last month, right? The importance of maintaining and understanding that, like, with respecting and honoring my worth, or honoring that dream thing, honoring this very thing that I want to bring to fruition, is going to require that I stand up for myself. It's going to require that I even be maybe a bit domineering. It's going to require that I don't hold back, right? If you're going to come to me with some bullshit, I'm going to reflect it right back to you. And you're not going to think that you can step to me with any kind of fakeness, bullshit, whatever it may be. But I definitely feel that a lot of us are feeling this energy of, like, oh yeah, like, I'm really feeling like myself again. I'm really feeling like maybe that situation didn't work out, but I'm feeling really confident and I'm feeling really capable of walking into the victory that I need to walk into. But again, that's going to require that you continue to really understand and hold your value and hold your worth at a high place, right? That along with recognizing patterns also comes this recognition of, like, the things that I do so well in relationships, right? That it's not just about beating yourself up or feeling like, oh, I do this and I do that and I'm a bad person, but it's also about, that it's also about recognizing where I do things really well, right? Like, taking inventory doesn't just mean you take stock of what you're missing, but you take stock of what you have as well. Okay, so now we have the Hermit here. So we have Hermit, 7 of Wands or 7 of Brooms, 3 of Pentacles, and 2 of Brooms here. So the Hermit coming up. So I do feel that a lot of you are going to be taking time for yourself, right? Taking time. I really see this as a lot of you kind of in the home, in your house. That your home has become kind of a safe haven, has become a place where you've really put a lot of time and effort and energy into really building and having or building or creating a stable home environment. Or that for some of you, this is really what you're seeking, is that you're realizing, like, because the Queen of Pentacles, she's also very much about, you know, her money or her material possessions, what she has. You know, is her home comfortable? Is she does she feel good where she lives? And if none of these things are in line, then she's probably not going to be in a very good mood, right? So also this realization that, like, I need to really also focus on creating a sound and solid home environment. Or I really need to focus on creating financial or material gain or material income for myself. That until I do any of these things, it's going to be like, it's going to be extreme. Like, I'm just going to continue to feel like I'm fighting or I'm trying my hardest to stay on top, and I have this uneven footing, and I have, you know, all these obstacles coming at me from all these directions, right? That there's a lot of recognition that, like, some of the instability that you might be experiencing, because this card also speaks of, like, someone who's definitely having to fight things off, but is doing so from a stance or from a point of perspective or point of view that is kind of unstable, right? Like, he can fall off of here at any moment. He's definitely fighting, right? And he's definitely really doing what he needs to do to stay on top. But nonetheless, he feels there's this sense of instability and this sense of imbalance, even just in the way that he's standing, right? And he's got this thing over his head, so he's kind of being crunched in and feeling like he's facing obstacles from all directions almost, right? And he's only got one broom to fight everything off, right? So it's like this 6 can very easily become this 7 if you are not prepared to handle the victory that's being given to you. It kind of reminds me of the 5 of Swords, how with the 5 of Swords, the character in that card has managed to defeat, right, through manipulative measures nonetheless, but has been able to defeat 2 of his opponents. And now he's got 5 swords to carry, only 2 hands, so he can't even carry all the swords. So it's like this kind of progression from the 6 to the 7 kind of is reminiscent of that. You know, there are victories that we want, and there are things that we want to accomplish, and there are things that we feel that we're worthy of, and that we feel like we're deserving of, right? But it's like once we get those things, we realize that we didn't have the correct sort of foundation or framework from which to have and to build upon these things. And now it's like we got to go back to square one with the 3 of Pentacles, where, like, now I have to go back to the foundation of my ideas about what this relationship should look like, or what this career move should look like, or what, you know, like, or like what this sort of, what this victory, right, needs to look like. So now there's this kind of going back to the drawing board of, like, okay, so I'm taking on way too much, or maybe I have unrealistic expectations, or maybe I got that relationship and it turns out that I'm not ready for it, or the other person wasn't ready for it, so we're going back to the drawing board. You know, so it can have different meanings, but we'll get into it because this feels very general at the moment, and I kind of want to get a more in-depth sense of what's happening. But with the Hermit here, yeah, I definitely get a feeling that a lot of Aquarians are settling into a home environment and feeling very safe and comfortable in that environment, and that environment is allowing them to kind of do some mental processing or some deep sort of thinking that needs to occur, right? The Hermit really observing their inner light, the Hermit seeking higher wisdom and higher knowledge that comes from within or comes from source, right? Comes from higher knowledge, higher understanding. So I definitely feel that there's a lot of this going on, right? You could also be dealing with a Virgo, potentially. A Virgo or a Sagittarius, I want to say, because the Hermit is a 9. This is backwards, but it's a 9 in Roman numerals, which the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius, or ruled Sagittarius. I don't know which way it goes. And that maybe a lot of you are having a deeper understanding of how, you know, maybe your relationship with this person has been. A deeper understanding of what your role in the relationship has been. But nonetheless, I feel that a lot of you are also recognizing, like, I'm sort of fighting this battle on an uneven ground. Like, I'm trying to... There are all of these things that I'm trying to sort of fix and fight off and address in my life, but I'm doing so from a really faulty foundation. And so I do see a lot of you going back to the drawing board with the 3 of Pentacles and the 2 of Wands here. 2 of Wands representing, like, being open to new opportunities, being open to what is ahead of you, what is in front of you, and yes, recognizing that things are next to you and behind you, but not at all really being, not that you're not invested in what's next to you and in what's behind you, but also being open to the new opportunities that the world has to offer you. So it's like you're not holding on to any of these things here, and you're looking forward so that all the possibilities are like this broom and this broom can have great opportunities for you, as can this world, as can this horizon, and you're just kind of opening yourself up to all these different possibilities, opening yourself up to all these different options that you have, options and opportunities that you have before you, right? Yeah. Let's clarify the Hermit. Can we get clarification for the Hermit, please? Clarification for the Hermit. Where's the Hermit here? Okay, yeah. King of Machete. So either this is new realizations or a deeper understanding of another Aquarius or another air sign, a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, right? Or somebody who has a lot of air energy and somebody who you need to have communication with, somebody who you need to, who can present as being very cold, who can present as being kind of a bit, who has created and given off an image of being kind of cold or aloof, but nonetheless, I get the feeling that it's more of a mask than it is an actual, than it is, you know, who this person actually is, right? And I also feel that this is a deeper understanding into your knowledge, right? Into knowledge of yourself, because this is the Aquarius card. So I feel that this is even deeper knowledge into who you are and into your power as the King of Swords, right? Like you're showing up here in your highest, well, you know, the star is the highest form, right? The highest sort of archetype for Aquarius in the deck, but nonetheless, showing up as the king, right, is still not bad. Showing up as the king is still not, you're showing up in your power, right? You're showing up as the master of the swords, which is essentially what the Aquarius archetype is, right? We're the highest evolved air sign. We're one of the signs in the zodiac that's further along, right? So there's a deeper understanding of your own nature and maybe how this coldness and this aloofness kind of creates... Sorry, there's a car engine running outside. I get distracted very easily by things happening outside my window. How that coldness or that aloofness, right, that I think a lot of us can sometimes be really... that a lot of us can be really, I don't want to say proud of, but we hold on to it, right? Or we kind of wear it as like as long as I kind of maintain this air of being detached or aloof, then I can't get hurt. But what's really happening underneath it all is that you're actually just kind of fighting off all of these different sort of feelings, all of these different emotions, all these different realizations of the truth of your feelings, right? Which can be difficult when you're trying to maintain an air of I don't really give a fuck, but you do give a fuck. It then begins to feel like you're losing a battle with yourself and your own emotional state. I want to see what can come up here for Aquarius. So any further messages or guidance for Aquarius for February 2018? The Sun. Yeah, so I definitely feel the Sun showing up here with Leo, right? We're going to have that full moon in Leo on January 31st, and it's going to be, I believe, a lunar eclipse. Yeah, lunar eclipses coincide with full moons, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But I do feel that this is very representative of that new moon or that full moon that's going to be occurring in Leo rather soon, right? And that for a lot of you are kind of wondering, what direction do I go in? Do I go with this person or that person? Do I stick with this job or that job? That a lot of that, especially because it's happening in our 7th house, right? We're having that full moon's going to be occurring in Leo in our 7th house. And that as a result of that, we're going to have new realizations. I feel like a lot of us are going to get free, right? There's going to be a lot of freedom that we're going to experience with the full moon cycle coming through for January 31st, that there's going to be a sense of freedom from whatever you might have been sort of fighting off, right? And that there is this sort of surrender to this need to build a new foundation, and that through that foundation, through that building of a sound foundation within your love life or within, you know, it creates better and new opportunities for you, right? What's this 3 of Pentacles mean for Aquarius? What is this new foundation? That's a lot. But yeah, that's kind of also what I thought. The Death card, 4 of Cups, and the Ace of Machetes. They're also called machetes in this deck. Ace of Swords, Ace of Machetes, same thing. So we have the Death card here. So yeah, there is definitely a transformation of sorts that is happening. And I do feel that a lot of you are either fighting off this transformation that's trying to make its way in, or you're doing your damnedest to really fight off whatever old patterns and whatever old ways of doing things you've been engaging in that are no longer working for you. And I feel like a lot of you are realizing this is not working for me anymore. Like, especially with this Queen of Pentacles here, right? That there is this realization, and with the Hermit being clarified by the King of Swords, King of Machetes, that there is these new realizations regarding your own nature. And it's realizations that come with compassion, right? Don't also be mindful not to be easy with yourself, right? That as an Aquarius, when I realize that something is wrong as a fixed energy, I then try and do everything in my power to fix it, or to either convince myself that it's not as wrong as I think it is. And whichever direction I go in, I kind of end up exhausting myself. And that I can also really, really be very harsh on myself. That I can really turn this King of Swords energy around on myself and be incredibly hard on myself, and in turn have really extremely high expectations of how everybody else should have shown up. And that there's a softening of that, especially with the sun being here right underneath it. There's a softening of that, especially as we have that Leo full moon coming in, right? And Leo being being our opposing sign, right? Being known as the performer, the lover, the king, you know, all about warmth, all about, you know, the sun brings warmth and growth to everything that it shines upon, right? And so how can we kind of allow this energy to this sort of forgiving, warming energy to kind of come into our 7th house sector and warm things up a little bit? Because everything can't be a battle, right? So at the foundation of it, your foundations are being transformed, right? There's the Death card here. So there's a recalculating and sort of a reassessment. There's a new blueprint being drawn up for how you, I feel, are showing up in your relationships, or for how you are allowing yourself to be valued and treated in your relationships. I feel like as long as there's this sort of being in this King of Brooms, King of Wands energy of really letting people know, because it's not that Aquarians are passive, right? It's not that we're passive. I can't explain it though, right? Because we're not passive, right? We're not going to not speak our minds, but we tend to do so in a way that can be very cool, and that can be very intellectualized, and that can be digested or swallowed, you know, kind of easily. I can't figure out how to say it, right? And then at the same time, like, our cool and detached and aloof nature also kind of keeps us from having to really engage with this energy or become engage or become this energy, right? That we can kind of just be like, well, whatever, don't really give a fuck anyway. You know what I mean? But it's like at the core of it all, we do really care. And so I feel like a lot of us are just kind of in this energy of like really embodying that Sag energy of like, I'm going to tell you like it is right now. I'm going to tell you how I feel right now. I am aggressively and abrasively setting my boundaries. I am abrasively telling you where to go and you can go the way the fuck over there. Like, I feel like that fieriness is really coming alive in us. And is really making itself known. What we will and will not tolerate anymore. Because there's this new and redefined idea of what our worth is. And a lot of us are also beginning to maybe make that money that we want, or we're starting to get more stable in our material lives. And once somebody is stable in their material lives, they really can't be manipulated. They can't, you know, it's really hard to try and have control over someone or to try and manipulate someone or you know, deceive somebody or try to hold somebody hostage emotionally or physically, right? If they're materially secure, right? It's really hard to do that. And that once somebody finds their material security, has their own place, their own car, is working, that it becomes even more difficult to make that person emotionally dependent on you. That you can't do that. Right? So a lot of us in becoming materially or financially more independent, more abundant, that it's become that like we're no longer really willing to settle for relationships or partners or dating situations that are going to hold us emotionally hostage, because we are beginning to create a new sense of security that is that is totally absent of, well, what does this person have? What is this person doing? Where does this person work? Where do they live? Because we don't, as long as I've got my own stuff, I don't really care what's going on with you unless, like, I'm really fucking with you in a very serious way, right? So, Death, Four of Cups, and the Ace of Machetes as the rebuilding, right, of these foundations. This Three of Pentacles, new blueprint, right? So, a death of this energy, that's what I'm reading it as. Very straightforward. A death of this Four of Cups energy. A death in this energy of, like, I really wanted these three cups to work out, or at least one of them. Could one of these cups have at least worked out? Could one of these relationships have at least worked out? Like, the universe doesn't have my back. The universe doesn't want me to be happy in my relationships. The universe doesn't want me, insert whatever. Right? There's a death to this energy, because this can kind of be a self-piteous kind of energy where you're kind of stuck in ruminating over your own sort of perceived failures here, or your own sort of perceived wishes and dreams that you wanted that didn't come true, and now the universe is offering you this cup here, and there's almost kind of like a mistrust here, right? It's like, you see this cup here, but you're like, what? Are you going to hand me more bullshit again? Is it going to be like this shit over here? But what we need to realize is that, like, we went and picked up these cups ourselves, right? We saw these cups, realized they weren't really worth anything, or realized they weren't going to fulfill us when they needed to be fulfilled, and we picked them up anyway. So there also needs to be the sense of responsibility, right? For whatever failures that we've had in the past with relationships, that there needs to be an acceptance or a recognition that, you know what, I picked up these cups and kept fucking with them, even after I knew intuitively, and I knew just from watching how the motherfucker was treating me and acting, that there wasn't going to be anything like the Ace of Cups, right? And now now the universe wants to hand me this cup, but I'm not completely trusting, right? I'm not completely trusting of this cup, because I don't completely trust myself. I don't completely trust my ability to have that Ace of Cups, Ten of Cups, Two of Cups along with the Three of Cups, right? Because it's important for us to be friends with our lovers. It's important for us to have friendships, right? To have a foundation of some kind of camaraderie or understanding, right? Which comes through friendship for Aquarius. Right? So there's a little bit of mistrust here with this cup that's now being offered. But I see a lot of us sort of getting rid of or kind of allowing the universe to do its thing. And with the Ace, something new coming through, either with another air sign, or, you know, again, speaking of another way, a better way of understanding your own nature, a better way of understanding your own Aquarian air sword-like nature. Right? That potentially we always kind of want to cut away or cut away our opportunities out of fear that they're not going to work out for us. Let's clarify the Sun. Can I get clarification for the Sun? I didn't expect this reading to go this long, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. Can I get clarification for the Sun? Why is the Sun here for Aquarius? What's the guidance behind the Sun for Aquarius? Seven of Cups. So for me, what this really indicates for me is that sometimes this can definitely mean disillusionment and illusionment, and it can mean freedom, right? Sun for me representing freedom. This kid is totally free. Freedom from the delusion, freedom from the illusions, freedom from whatever you felt was holding you emotionally hostage, but also things coming to fruition, right? Things in the ether, things that are like there are all these. So, you know, the universe has all of these opportunities floating around for us in the vortex, in the ether, whatever you want to call it, right? I call it the vortex because I listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks, right? And she talks a lot about the vortex, right? And the vortex is this place where all of our manifestations, all of our dreams, all of our hopes and desires live, right? And so they exist and float around in this vortex, right? So the relationship that you want, that job, that $1 million, whatever you want already exists in the vortex. And that through doing the work of aligning yourself with the fruition of those goals, we can bring these things out of the ether, out of the vortex, and bring them into manifestation, right? That we can bring those things down to earth, literally. And so there are a lot of things that we have here. There are a lot of dreams, right? There are a lot of hopes. There are a lot of fears as well, right? And then it's really about you picking and choosing, well, do I want to engage with the fear? Or do I want to engage with the hope and the dream, right? Do I want to engage with the victory, right? Of creating whatever it is that I want to create. And so this full moon is really going to be an excellent opportunity for us, especially as Aquarians that are having this full moon happening in our 7th house, to really get clear on our intentions and to really get ourselves set straight about where we sort of rest or lay our energies. So if we want to engage with the fear aspect, right? If we want to engage with being afraid of things, right? With not, hold on, there's people. Sorry, my landlord's showing the property next door and like I can hear everything, and I'm sure you'd be able to as well. But nonetheless, yeah, so the 7 of Cups representing all the things that you have the possibility to create, that you've already created energetically, and that it's a matter of you then zeroing in your focus and then allowing things to happen, right? I know it's like a tricky balance of really wanting something, sending that signal out, and then letting it go. Just letting it go. So let's get an outcome card for Aquarius for February 2018. Happy birthday again. It's our birthday month. All right, here. The Chariot card. So yeah, I feel that this energy, this Two of Wands, Two of Brooms energy of moving forward, right? Of choosing a direction, of choosing where we want to go and where we want to drive our energy is really built upon and is really strengthened as the month continues. And that the Chariot card really stands for, once again, is also a representation of this King of Brooms, King of Wands energy. It is the Cancer card. But nonetheless, I feel it's definitely representation of, you know, what happens when Cancer is really emotionally balanced. What happens when Cancer has complete control over their emotional center, and is able to drive how their emotions will work for them rather than vice versa, where their emotions are always controlling them, right? The Chariot is the Charioteer is an absolute control at all times, right? So I do feel that this is also, you know, this fiery energy also kind of is then really honed in and mastered, almost, I want to say. And that there is clear direction and that there is a clear sense of knowing who you are. I'm not really getting too much focus on relationships, right? That for some of you, yes, this is the rebuilding and the rebuilding of a relationship, right? The allowing of this relationship, the rebuilding, right, through the Three of Pentacles, and then the allowing of the manifestation of where that relationship needs to go, right? Like you and this person are not really attached or not really using excessive force, right, to make things work. There's this sense of freedom and allowing things to manifest naturally for you. And that, yeah, like you guys end up really driving forth and driving forward as the month goes on. But I feel like a lot of this comes from within, and that the more you can kind of get in touch with where you need to gain control and what patterns you need to let go of, the easier it is going to be for you to manifest the very thing that it is that you want to manifest. And I feel like the full moon in Leo is going to be great for that. That I feel that, yes, while full moons represent endings and things coming to a close, that this full moon for us is going to be the ending of old patterns and new and beautiful things being able to come in as a result of that. New opportunities, all the things that we've ever wanted and imagined that exist in the vortex, as it exists in the ether, coming to fruition. All right, Aquarius. That is your reading for February 2018. And yeah, happy birthday. And here we are on the bottom of the deck. Here we are, the star. Yeah. So happy birthday to all of you. I hope this reading resonates, and I hope that these messages are going to be much better received than last month, where, yes, I definitely acknowledge it was a bit more of a subjective take on the energies, and it was a mix of subjective and objective, right? So I hope you have a good birthday month, and happy Valentine's Day, happy Love Day, happy all of the above, and I'll see you all in March. All right, bye.